Hi class. So this week we're continuing with our reading and discussion and work on written arguments. And specifically this week we're going to concentrate on nailing down the differences between the appeals to logos, pathos, and ethos. And these ideas are covered both in your book and in the PowerPoint. Now, I've amended the PowerPoint a little bit from last week, and I've posted it again this week, but I want you to take a look at it because it does contain a few different things. I've added a few examples to the slides. So basically, logos is the appeal to logic. You know you're looking at an appeal to logos when you see numbers, when you see statistics. You know you're looking at an appeal to pathos, or emotion, when you see something, some kind of a description of something that is supposed to move you in some way. Either it's supposed to make you happy, it's supposed to tug at your heartstrings, it's supposed to make you sympathetic to a cause, it's supposed to make you angry and want to change something. There are ways that you can easily manipulate emotions, and that is not a legitimate appeal. However, there are ways to do it legitimately, and that's what we're looking at. And then ethos is when you appeal to authority. And what that means is basically like we could use a celebrity, for example, to sell something. And if it's something that's connected to who that celebrity is, say if Beyonce was selling microphones, then we might think that it was legitimate because she's probably an expert on that. However, most of the time, celebrities are used to sell things that aren't necessarily within their field of expertise, and we still buy them because we like them and we identify with them, and so we give them some kind of credibility. And that's really what the appeal to ethos is about. In addition to celebrities, it's experts, people in a position of authority. We tend to give them credibility. So whenever you see an argument that relies on the idea of you should listen to me because I know what I'm talking about, that's an appeal to ethos. We're reading some arguments this week, and they are all centered on the same debate about should the government tax sugary drinks. So I want you to read those in your book in chapter 14. And what I want you to do this week is to answer the questions that we ask when we're trying to analyze something, because we really need to take it apart and understand it if we hope to be able to do it ourselves. So I've put that up for you in one of the assignments. And then the last thing is to look at the logical fallacies. The logical fallacies are the errors in logic that people commit all the time when they're writing arguments, and that if you're in a position of evaluating an argument, you need to look for in order to say that an argument is or is not sound. Now, here's a really important point. You can disagree with a person's argument, with their point of view, and still find the argument sound, because it doesn't contain any logical fallacies. You can agree with somebody's point of view and find that their argument is not sound, because it does contain logical fallacies. So you need to set aside your personal opinion on whatever the issue is and just look for those subtle hints that it might be a fallacy. So you need to read that information, and then there's an assignment related to trying to identify the logical fallacies. Let me see if there's anything else. I think that's it for now, except I did want to say something about the third essay, which you are to turn in by this Sunday night at 11:59 p.m., and this is the compare-contrast essay. There was a strange problem on Blackboard where you weren't able to see the actual description of the assignment, but that's now been fixed. And hang on, I'm going to get it out of my book. Okay, I'm back. So the assignment is from your book. It's on page just a minute. I'll find it. Okay, comparison and contrast. This is fun, isn't it? Watching me look through my book. Okay, it's 432. So you're to choose any one of these 11 topics, right? And you write your comparison contrast. So I know we've moved on to the argument, but I want you to remember that for comparison contrast, there is a very specific way that you need to write this essay. The first important thing is to really look at the prompt. Not just look at it, but maybe even just write it into your paper. Then you can erase it later. But I want you to have the prompt in its own words facing you when you're trying to write this paper, because some of you on the last paper didn't really seem to have it foremost in your mind when you were writing, and that made some of you run into some trouble in your papers. You have to, in your introduction, as always, grab the reader's attention, give us a little background, and then your thesis statement. Remember, you have to be very explicit in what you are comparing and contrasting, okay? And then you're going to do a point-by-point system where you figure out, let's say, 3 things you want to compare and contrast about these 2 subjects. And you do point 1, subject 1, subject 2. Point 2, subject 1, subject 2. Point 3, subject 1, subject 2. Conclusion. So let's just take one quick example, okay? Let's say you choose number 3. Write an essay about a relative or friend you have known since you were a child. Consider how your opinion of this person is different now from what it was then. Okay, so what that means is that you are comparing and contrasting your 2 opinions of this particular person. The first opinion is from when you were a child, and the second opinion is right now. So you need to list things under each of those headings and come up with some points that you can use to compare and contrast. Okay, so consider how your opinion of this person is different now from what it was then, right? So there may be things that have really changed a lot. And there may be some things that haven't changed, and that's okay too, but you need to find at least 3 points that you can say, all right, I can look at the 2 opinions of this person and look at it according to these 3 points. Do you understand what I'm saying? So look at it according to, let's say my opinion has changed because the person has changed. And that sometimes is true. Let's say how my opinion has changed because of the way I've changed. So I think those are good ways to brainstorm for that topic. And then you would try to find 3 things that you could talk about for both opinions. That's the clue. Since you started college, this is number 5. How have you changed? Write an essay that answers this question. Okay, so again, that's also comparing who you were when you started and who you are now. And find some things that you can look at, what it was like then, what it is like now. Okay? Number 7, write an essay comparing your own early memories of school with those of a parent or an older relative. That could be interesting. You'd have to talk to that person and kind of conduct an interview. And then you'd have to think about 3 things that you both can talk about so that you can see how they're similar and how they're different. Okay, so any of these 11 is fair game, but it's very important that you structure it point by point, that your thesis is clear, that you address the prompt, and don't forget those transition words. In comparison, as opposed to, on the other hand, similarly. Okay, those are the words that are going to tell the reader if you're comparing or contrasting. And as a final note, please don't ever hesitate to contact me if you want some feedback on what you're working on. Remember, the Writing Center is open to you. Remember that Smart Thinking is available to you from your computer 24 hours a day. So do what you can to help yourself. Take a look at the comments I've made on your past papers and see if there is something that you can look out for when you're revising. You have like a comma issue, for example. That's what your editing log is for. See if you can help yourself identify those potential problems and figure out how to fix them before you turn in the paper. Okay, I think that's probably plenty of information and plenty of stuff to keep you busy for a while, but good luck with everything, and I will see you soon. Bye.